Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. This is your guide to not only get to round 100 in Shattered Veil, but also to successfully beat the secret version of the boss fight on round 101. Before you start your game, there are a couple of essential augments to put on. That's Critical Eye on Death Perception and Dead Again on Deadshot. And these are necessary because they'll mean that you have infinite ammo in your Wunderwaffe once we get that. Supercharged on Speed Cola is also essential. And I'd also recommend Parting Gift on Vulture Aid, and that will mean you get more ammo drops for your wonder weapon as well, so you're basically guaranteed at that point to never run out of ammo in your wonder weapon ever again. So those are essential. Then for just recommendations, but not necessarily essentials, I'd say Reactive Armor on Jug is great, as is Hardened Plates, Dying Wish on Quick Revive, and with Frenzied Guard, you'll want to put on a Frenzy Fire and Extension. Now, there will be a slight tweak coming to these augments once we get into the very high rounds here, but we don't need to do that for the beginning and middle stage of our game. So just sit tight with these augments for now. For Loadout Weapon, you can pretty much use any gun that you want, but if you want to make your life a little easier, you could run something with the underbarrel grenade launcher, like crossbow attachment thing, and that'll mean that you can harvest plant seeds really easily. But outside of that, it's really your choice. And then Ether Shroud with extra charges is nice just to start off with here, but we're going to end up switching to Frenzied Guard later in the game, so just bear that in mind. For Gobblegum recommendations, I'm not going to recommend loads of the really rare gobbles here, but I will say Power Keg is going to be amazing to have for the boss fight, so just bear that in mind. It's a blue, you should have one or two of them most likely, and it is going to be very, very handy. So I would save one of those for the boss. When you spawn in, go through a couple of rounds and then buy the GS45s off the wall. They'll either be green, or if you wait longer, they'll be blue, but you're going to end up getting rid of them anyway, so you don't have to buy them once they're blue. And once you've got those, you're going to start opening out of the spawn, but you are not going to open the door to Quick Revive or the conservatory area, as this will ruin the strat later on, so avoid that door at all costs. So then open the map up, activate Pack-a-Punch your GS45s as well. That will be useful here. And you're then going to basically start working towards getting your Wunderwaffe. Now, there are multiple ways to do this. You can get it out of the mystery box, and you can increase your chances using a hidden power, or you can get it for free from the free Wunderwaffe quest. But you can only do that quest once you do, like, the first sort of 30-40% of the Easter egg in this map. Now, thankfully, I've got a full guide dedicated to getting the waff for free, and it explains all the other Easter egg steps that you need to do to get up to that point. So I'm linking that in the description and the corner of the screen right now, and you're going to basically follow that guide through all the main quest steps leading up to the waff quest, and then for the short waff quest itself, and that will mean that once you finish everything in that video, you'll have your free Wunderwaffe. Now, I've got a couple of recommendations for you while you do that. Firstly, when you get your Ray Gun Mark II for the first time, I would trade that for your loadout weapon, and I would keep the GS45s that we Pack-a-Punched, because they'll be useful for us later. And the second is, once you actually unlock the waff, don't pick it up straight away. So you'll end up with that purple smoke flying around in the elevator shaft. Just leave it there. It will stay there in your game, and it's going to be useful for us to leave it there for now, so that you can then start working on the rest of the Easter egg, right? Because at this point in your game, you'll have done one of the 3 rituals, but you'll need to do the other 2 still in order to finish the main quest Easter egg, and those are going to be done most easily if you still got your Sallies, so we don't want to get rid of the Sallies in favor of picking up the waff just yet. And also, for the record, if you don't know how to do those other 2 rituals, that's where my main quest Easter egg guide is going to come in, so that will take you from the end of the waff quest up to the boss fight, but don't go into the boss fight just yet, and that is also linked as a separate second link in the description and in the corner of the screen right now. So just to make sure we're all now on the same page, you've completed the main quest Easter egg at this point, but you've not gone into the boss fight. You've now got the purple smoke in the elevator shaft, which you can activate and get your free waff from. And once you pick that up, you'll have the waff in one hand and you'll have your elemental Ray Gun Mark II in the other. I would recommend the blue one for what we're about to do. And we can now basically get into the high round strat, going from whatever round you're on, which is probably early 20s, let's say, and taking us all the way to 101. So in terms of the order of what you should spend your money on, I would say you should absolutely be focused on getting Speed Cola, Quick Revive, Jug, Deadshot, Death Perception, and Vulture Aid early on. And you will then get the rest of the perks once you have surplus cash, but they're non-essential for those earlier rounds. And if you're wondering also where to get them, you get them from the Wonder Fizz machine once round 25 has started. Then for upgrading stuff, there's basically three main things that we're going to be upgrading. One is the Ray Gun Mark II, the next is the Wunderwaffe, and the third is actually your knife, which I'll explain why in a minute. And I basically recommend that you do the following. You're going to upgrade your Waff once, just to get it to tier 1 so that it's fancy and extra powerful, but then focus on upgrading the Mark II and the knife, and get those all the way upgraded before you then finish off getting the Waff to tier 3. Also, while you're doing that, you are going to want to put Dead Wire on your knife, and once that's all done, that's when you can buy the rest of your perks, and if you need to, you can like buy a Casimir and stuff like that as well. So, time to talk about strats. I'm going to give you 3 different strategies here, the first of which is the easiest, and then the second and the third are a little bit more complex, but they have their own pros and cons. So, starting with the first one, this comes from Insomnia Virus, I believe, and it's probably the most used strat on the map. It's very simple. You basically stand in the elevator shaft and spam your Wunderwaffe, and you'll notice your bullets in your mag will refill due to the Death Perception and Deadshot Augment combo that I recommended at the start of the video. And it's those combination of augments that's going to mean we never have to buy ammo, let alone even reload the Waff. But there is always a chance with this strat that you still do get overwhelmed if the Waff doesn't chain to enough zombies, and for that reason, I would recommend you have a mutant injector on hand, just in case you do get overwhelmed at any point. However, that shouldn't be the first panic button that you go to. The first thing you really should reach for is your Frenzied Guard, which you're going to want to switch to for this strat. Also, if you don't have a Frenzied Guard, and you also haven't got a mutant injector, you do have a rappel cord that you can use to just leave the elevator shaft, so remember that that is there too for panic moments. Thankfully, there's only 2 spawns to focus on the sides here, so getting overwhelmed shouldn't really happen that much, but the exception to that is when an Elder Disciple spawns in. This is what you've got your Casimirs and your upgraded knife for, so as soon as you see an Elder Disciple, do exactly what I am doing here. You're going to throw your Casimir underneath the Elder Disciple, and then go melee it to death, and it will take extra melee damage because it's super weak to melee, and it's also weak to Deadwire, which we've got on our knife. You'll then likely get Casimirs back super easily thanks to your Picky Eater, but if you really need to craft another Casimir, there is a crafting bench in this room. Then for special rounds for this strat, we're going to basically just pop our Mutant Injection and sit in the elevator and spam, and that should take you through to the end of the round. And if you get in a sticky situation, remember you also have your Casimirs. Those can help you out too, but the Mutant Injector should be fine here. Strat number 2 is another Insomnia Virus strat. This is the Dopple Room strat, and I think this is the fastest strat, but because of that, it does also require you to use your brain a little bit more. So instead of being in the elevator shaft, we're going to go downstairs, and remember the room where you kill the Dopple and you get the severed arm for the free Mark II? We're going to be standing there, and instead of 2 spawns, there's going to be 3, but the only spawns that really spawn a ton of zombies are the one right next to you and the one out of the room to your right. So I pretty much just cycle shooting the spawn at my feet and then the other spawn and just spamming the Waff over and over again and being really careful about getting backed up into this corner here because that can happen. Like the spawn is really fast, so they will overwhelm you sometimes, but that is where your Frenzied Guard will come in, so you can use that to help clear things out. And like we said before, if you really need to, you've got your Mutant Injector for this reason also. Then if you run out of those, you've also got a Casimir, and if you run out of Casimirs, then you can go craft Casimirs in the crafting bench in the Sam AI room. We will be using Casimirs to take down Disciples, just like we did with the previous strat. And for special rounds, you're going to run to the elevator and then do what we were doing with the first strat. You're just going to sit in the elevator with the Mutant Injector, take out all the specials there, and then buy a Mutant Injector from the crafting bench on your way back to the Dopple room. Now, if you don't like the look of either of those strats, we've got an alternative one from Sulky118 here, and this one's upstairs in the greenhouse, and it's the reason why I said you should keep that one conservatory door closed at the very beginning of the match. This reduces the number of spawns to only 3 barriers, and you then stand on this railing that will give you a good line of sight on all 3 of the spawns, and shoot the Waff Wunderwaffe at the barriers to reduce the number of zombies that actually get to you. And then when zombies do eventually manage to slip through, you can shoot the Waff at their feet and then just go back to shooting the barriers once again. Now, when you're in this spot, if you rampage induce, I believe that makes this the fastest strat, at least according to some of the testing that I saw from MC Zombie Slayer. So if you really want to be speedy, this is a great one to do with rampage inducer. But if you're not going to be inducing, then doing one of the other two strats is probably for the best. But again, this all comes down to personal preference, really. And one of the nice things about this upstairs strat is that there's an ammo box in the conservatory if you need it as well. Although if that does happen, then you're probably doing something wrong. For special rounds, toxic zombies are going to come out of the barrier to your right and the one below the ledge you're standing on. So focus your waff shots on those barriers and the round will be over very fast. And similar to what I said before, if there's an Elder Disciple, it's Casimir time. Take it out while it's Casimired and then you can get back to the strat. Doing this will bring you all the way to round 101. And it's only once you're on 101 that you can do the extra hard boss fight. So for this, just to get set up properly, we're going to save and quit on round 100. And we're going to swap over to the following augments. On Jug, we're going to run Turtle Shell and Durable Plates, not Hardened Plates. And on PhD, we want Tribologist and PhD Slider. So once you've got those all set on, you're going to load back into your game. It's going to be round 100. You're going to flip the round to round 101. And that's going to mean you technically now can save quit again. And so if some emergency happens or something and you need to bail, you can bail and quit the game and then just reload back in and flip the round and try again on round 102 or whatever. But still, assuming things are going great, you've loaded back in on 100, you've flipped to 101, and crucially, you've bought a chopper gunner. You do not want to go in the fight with a mutant injector. You want a chopper gunner. Only then should you begin the fight. And I'm just going to info dump a load of really crucial tips here that I want you guys to kind of download into your brains. So watch all of the rest of this before you try the fight itself. So we know the fight usually is broken down into 4 phases, right? Your version of the fight will also be in 4 phases, but instead of only having 1 enrage phase at the end of the fight, like normal, you're going to have 3 enrage phases. And the enrage phases are when the boss is charging you down really fast and when it's jumping towards you really frequently. So let's break the fight down stage by stage to give you a bunch of recommendations to actually beat it. Stage 1 is going to be the non-enraged phase. This is going to be dreamy compared to the rest of the fight, so try and avoid using your Frenzied Guard if you can help it. And remember, you have Turtle Shell on now, so you're going to take full damage from the front, but only armor damage from the back. So you need to turn your back to a zombie before it hits you if you want to absorb all that damage. And you're going to do damage to the boss as normal. The way this works is you need to shoot the green crit spots on its side after it eats zombies, and that's going to do a ton of damage. And you also want to shoot its eyes to crit. So you'll do that with the blue Mark II, and then you'll swap to the Waff, and you'll use the Waff to clear out zombies, and then you can reposition and shoot the boss again. Doing this will get the boss down to 75% HP. It will then jump away. It will be away for 30 seconds, and then it will come back. And during phase 2, you're going to see fog roll in, almost like a special round is starting. And that's when it's going to start charging you much faster and being much more jumpy. So this is when you have to really lock in. The flow for dealing with the boss when it gets into this kind of mode is as follows. You're going to start off using your Frenzied Guard and just lay into the Dino with your Mark II, trying to crit, obviously. And if you need to regain armor while your Frenzied Guard is active, shoot a zombie. And this is also especially important to regen a bit if you're using Turtle Shell like I'm recommending. Then once your Frenzied is over, you need to look away from the Dino every time it goes for an attack. This will mean that your shield absorbs all of its force and it will launch you forwards. And that gives you an opportunity to reset, gain some distance, and shoot the Dino once again. And when it's in this mode, when it gets really close to you, it's basically going to be too fast for you to outrun it. So if you're dodging with PhD Slider and Tribologist, you're going to want to do that sort of diagonal to the dinosaur so that it has to turn to keep chasing you. That's going to be a little bit of a more effective way to reposition here. In general, though, you're going to want to be moving in circles around the edge of the arena and try and just stick to one direction, avoiding puddles as you go because they will slow you down a lot. And if you do at any point get caught in a puddle, don't turn around, just keep walking forwards because, like I said, you'll take 0 damage from the puddle so long as you're looking straight ahead, because any damage coming from behind will will get absorbed by your turtle shell. As you're doing this, you're going to want to have your waff out, and you're going to want to keep killing zombies in front of you with it so that you don't take any front damage. And you can even throw Casimir's during this as well, with Hotfoot also on stamina up if you want, so you can get a big speed boost. And so the combination of getting that big chunk of its health taken out with your first Frenzied Guard, and then the moments where you're moving around the outside of the arena and you can turn around to get some pot shots at the boss, should mean that you can get it down to that 50% health gate where it will jump away. And while it's up there, because remember, it's going to be damageable for a couple of extra seconds, shoot it until you see the immune text, and then you're going to go back to killing zombies with the waff and clearing out everything in front of you, and also using that as an opportunity to get ammo and stuff too. Now, a tip for the fight is that if you don't have a self-revive when you go into the fight, if you go near Richtofen, he'll give you a self-revive. Or alternatively, if you go into the fight with a self-revive, but then you use it, go over to Richtofen, and he'll give you a self-revive. He'll only give you one total in your match, but still, make the most of it if you have a missing self-rev. And also, Richtofen gives you armor and ammo every 60 seconds or so it's worth going near him and getting that armor to replenish your turtle shells as you rotate. By killing as many zombies as possible with your waff as you rotate around the room and as you wait for the dino to spawn back in, you should be able to get your Frenzied Guard charge back again for the third phase. But if you're struggling for some reason, or things are just especially crazy, this is why I recommended the blue Power Keg Gobblegum at the very beginning of this guide. That is going to mean that you can get a free full power, and so by grabbing that, you can do even more boss damage in another frenzied usage and bring the boss health down even further. So the combination, whether you've got Power Keg or not, of frenzied guarding, doing a bunch of damage, and then evading the boss on the outside of the arena, avoiding the green puddles, and absorbing damage with your turtle shell is what's going to get you through that third phase. And then for the fourth phase of the fight, that's when we're going to use the chopper gunner. But let's say you're still struggling before that phase, right? Another couple of pro tips that you could try out here. Number one is if you go down and then you self-revive yourself, you're only going to have a couple of perks, right? So what you might want to do in that moment is to save and quit when you're on full health, then load back in. It's going to load you in outside the boss fight, and you can then just perk back up and go to the next round so that you can save quit again if you need to, and then go into the boss again. And that kind of gives you another chance at it. Also, if on your way to round 100, you already used up all of your dying wishes, or if you use them up trying to do the boss and then you save quit to reset, it will remember that you've lost those dying wishes. And so at that point, I would switch to the equivalent exchange augment. And that will mean that when you're downed, you can shoot a zombie to revive yourself. So that's an option for you. Also, a tip for that last phase is I've popped the chopper gunner fairly late in the phase here, but you can definitely pop it earlier than I have. And I think the way that you should sort of be thinking about this is it's better to pop it at the start of the phase and then have to kill the boss manually at the very end than it is to pop it late in the phase, but then die before you even get there. You know what I mean? Like, you might as well do the easy thing first. So pop the chopper gunner early in the fourth phase, and then if you've got any last health remaining at the end, then that's where you can just kind of clean up the last little bit. So I hope this video was useful for you. I've tried to cram it in as many round 101 tips here as I could, but if those weren't enough tips for you and you still want to learn even more about becoming an expert Black Ops 6 Zombies player, I've got a video of over 100 tips linked on screen right now, which you can feast on to become like a top 1% zombies slayer. So click through and I'll see you there.